Every day, we are thrust into hundreds of situations in where we must learn to very quickly respond to whatever the situation is before us. Sometimes we're angry or frustrated or insecure, and thinking about what else is going on in our life can prevent us from actually responding and becoming more reactive. Today, we're going to be talking about the 6 moments where you and I should stay silent. Hi, my name is Vanessa. If it's your first time here, welcome. I'm a life coach. I help people get to what they want. I do that by teaching people a few little tools and techniques that allows them to increase their self-confidence as we go through and we address those challenges or those little negative self-talks or those traumas from our childhood that are keeping us stuck and preventing from moving from where we are to where we want to be. So let's get to it. 6 moments in where you should stay silent. Anger is a natural, instinctive response to a threat. In our everyday, we're dealing with hundreds of moments in which we either respond or we act. The moment really to address whatever the situation is. So using silence as a tool allows you to always take those 3 deep breaths that allows you to get centered and get connected to yourself as you kind of put yourself together before you take the moment to respond to whatever the situation is before you. So the first one is be silent in the heat of anger. I know you have gone through this. I have gone through this. We all go through this. We're in a situation with our partner where we get angry and it's hot and we just want to shoot off all kind of stuff. In those moments where you're either with your partner, it could be in a work environment, it could be with one of your dearest friends, a sibling, or it could be with your parents, it could be in a line at the grocery store where someone does something that makes you so angry that you can feel the heat coming in within you. That is a moment to use silence as a tool and allows you to just get reconnected with yourself and just take that beat to figure out why you're so angry in that specific situation. Second one is be silent when you're feeling critical. Have you ever been with a work colleague and their project, whatever they were turning in for the project wasn't up to par, and you're kind of angry or frustrated because there's something else that's going on and you just feel like the entire project is breaking down and you feel like you have no control, right? That feeling of no control is that you feel threatened in this situation. So when someone has not done their job to the level in which is expected and you become frustrated that you want to be critical, that is the moment where you stay silent. And it just gives you that moment to pause and understand, instead of being critical with this specific situation, how can I use the words, your words, to be able to address what is before you? What is the exact situation without you putting your emotions or feeling into it by being critical? The third one is to be silent when you don't have all the facts. The other day I was with my girlfriend and she was talking to me about, her boyfriend, which is what we girls talk about sometimes. And she was giving me her perspective of the situation. And I have learned from a very long time ago to not get involved, to just listen and to be a loving participant, but don't get involved unless my opinion is asked for. And just listen, because we all know that we're hot with our partner today and tomorrow we're all loving. So if we get caught up in that situation where you're like, yeah, he's a jerk, he's not good for you, and then tomorrow they make up, then your friend is going to kind of look at you and say, you were mad at me yesterday, or you were mad at my boyfriend, and you didn't have all the facts about what was going on in their relationship, and you kind of got drawn into it, trying to be supportive with your friend, and in fact, it ends up being a moment where now there's a conflict between you and your friend because you said something negative about her boyfriend. So maintaining silence, even when you feel that you're right, or even that you feel that it is the correct thing to do, it's always easier to just be silent and take a moment before you become reactive in any situation. And being silent allows you to just gather yourself together before you take that moment to respond. Number 4, be silent if your words will offend the other person. How many of us out there have said something in the heat of a situation because we were hurt or angry, and we specifically said the words that we said, we chose them to offend and hurt that other person? No one wins in that situation. And that's why it's always most important to maintain silence in a moment where your words or my words will offend the other person. Because that just adds to the situation, and it's completely unnecessary. So being able to maintain the composure, that's what silence does for you. It allows you to maintain your composure and take a couple of deep breaths and get centered with yourself. So instead of reacting to the situation, you're able to respond. Number 5 is be silent if your words could damage a friendship. I used this example earlier, and it's still true now. If you are in a situation where, for example, your friend or your sister or even your mother is going through a hard moment in their relationship with their significant other, and perhaps you're feeling a certain kind of way about that person in your mom's life or your sibling's life or your best friend's life, sometimes it's best, because you don't have all the information. Sometimes the information that we have is just that of our friend or our family member or our colleague. So it's not a full perspective of what's going on. It's only one-sided. And I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but my mom used to tell me this all the time, that there's 3 different sides to a story. There's my side, there's your side, and there's a truth. And it's such a great line to remember, because I have my perspective over the situation that's going on before us, and you have your perspective over the situation that's before us. That's why it's so important to be able to take a couple of deep breaths and be silent with if your words could damage a friendship, because you don't necessarily have all the facts. And to be able to just go in hot and say something out of anger because you feel threatened, or that your friend or your mother or your family member is being threatened in their specific relationship, and you feel a necessity to come in and protect and be all like this, and it's not really your place. So that's why it's always good to just take a couple of deep breaths and get centered and not react to any situation. The 6th one is to be silent if you can't say it without screaming. Now, I am so guilty about this one. And the reason why I screamed in the past, because I've learned tools and I'm sharing them with you. The reason why I screamed when I was in a heated conversation with typically your partner, right, or your family members, is because I felt that my words weren't being heard. So instead of screaming to get your point across, take a couple of deep breaths and be vulnerable. Because at the end of the day, when we're screaming or when we feel anger, in the heat of anger, or you're feeling critical, or you don't have all the facts, or what you say might offend another person, or it could damage a friendship, and even screaming, when we respond, when we react in that moment, it's coming from a place of fear. So when I used to scream in my relationships, it's because I felt that I wasn't being heard. And my fear was that I wasn't being taken seriously. So what I learned to do is become vulnerable and say, hey, in this moment, I feel that I am not being heard. And I want the two of us to have a clear conversation. I want us to have a clear conversation where we're respectful with each other and that I can be clear and concise in the words that I use and express myself in such a way that you understand where I'm coming from and I feel heard. Right now, I'm feeling hot in the heat of anger, and my immediate reaction is that I want to scream at you so that you hear me. Can you see how? Do any of you do that in your own perspective lives? Because I know I have definitely done that, a lot. And I can tell you, I'm not always perfect. There are moments that I still get hot and I scream because I feel that I'm not being heard. And it's not a nice way, because if you think about it, do you like to be screamed at? Nobody likes to be screamed at. However, when you recognize that when you or another person does that, it's coming from a point of fear. And when you remember that anger is a natural, instinctive response to a threat, then it makes sense why staying silent in those moments is most advantageous. And it just allows you to just take a couple of deep breaths, really. Sometimes if you have to get up from the moment, from that situation, and walk away and get yourself together to regain your composure. Just say, hey, listen, I'm feeling very angry right now. I'm gonna get up and I'm going to step away for a few moments so I can gather myself. And then we can come back and continue this conversation, because that's the way that we engage with one another as adult individuals. Because at the end of the day, each and every one of us, what do we want? Love and respect. And we want to be honest and vulnerable and be soft with the people that are around us. And this little tool of maintaining silence in those moments where you feel angry, it's something that you can always use for yourself. Well, I hope that this information serves you well. If you have any questions or comments, write them below. Give me a hey, Vanessa. Click that like button because you're loving this content. And subscribe to this channel, because every Thursday I drop a new video. And it's always relating to something with relationships, with autism, and with our natural health and wellness. Because I believe that the way that we deal with not only our emotions comes from our mind and our body and our spirit, because each one of them are interconnected. So it's not one, it's all three. And that's how, in my practice, I help each and every one of my clients be able to thrive and have the life that they want in their life, by understanding that their mind, their body, and their spirit all work together as one. Let me know if you have any questions. You can always find me on my website, vanessaleecurley. Remember, guys, when we value ourselves, we value each other. Take care.